first year of marriage should have been a time of joy and fresh starts, but instead, it was a year shrouded in shadows. My wife and I were living in a modest rental house, an old structure that carried the weight of untold histories. From the moment we moved in, I felt it. A heavy, oppressive energy lingered in the air, ebbing and flowing like the tides. Some days it was faint, almost ignorable. Other days it was suffocating, but I blamed myself. At the time, I was lost in a spiral of depression and addiction. Alcohol and drugs were my refuge, a way to silence the demons inside me. I was a functioning addict, if barely. I clung to my job as a truck driver, even though my drinking had long crossed into dangerous territory. I won't sugarcoat it. I was a selfish man, drinking even while driving those massive vehicles. I urge anyone listening this to remember, the roads are filled with people like I was, just surviving, numb to the consequences. The house's layout was simple, almost deceptively so. The living room led to a dining room, which connected to a short hallway. On one side of the hall was a closet, and on the other a small bathroom. The hall ended at the bedroom door, with the kitchen just beyond. Most doorways were open frames, their doors long removed, except for the kitchen, the bathroom, and a closet. For privacy, we hung a sheet over the bedroom doorway, a thin barrier between the hallway and the small sanctuary where we slept. Our bed was tucked into the far corner, pressed against two walls. My wife slept on the wall side, and I slept on the open side, ever ready to protect her. It's funny how I thought I could protect her from anything. I had no idea what we were truly up against. That night started like any other. I passed out on my stomach, my preferred sleeping position. Sometime in the deep hours of the night, I awoke suddenly. Something wasn't right. I was completely paralyzed, unable to move a muscle. My head was turned toward the doorway, and that's when I saw it. The sheet moved, not like fabric caught by a breeze, but like something was passing through it. A figure emerged, stepping through the barrier as though it didn't exist. It was a woman, draped in white. Her movements were unnervingly smooth, her steps eerily silent. She glided past the bed without so much as a glance in my direction, her presence cold and detached. I wanted to scream, to move, to do anything, but my body refused to obey. All I could do was watch as she drifted toward the kitchen and disappeared into the darkness. The moment I could move, I shot out of bed and bolted to the kitchen, heart pounding in my chest. But when I flicked on the light, the room was empty. No trace of her. No sound. Nothing. I stood there for a long time, staring at the spot where she had vanished. My wife didn't stir during any of it, and I decided not to wake her. I couldn't bear the thought of her being scared while I was gone for work, so I kept the encounter to myself, burying it like a dark secret. But secrets have a way of surfacing. A week later, I left for work around 1 a.m., the same routine as always. By 2 a.m., my phone rang, shattering the silence of the early morning. On the other end, my wife was screaming, her voice raw with terror. It took everything I had to calm her down enough to speak. Her words sent chills through me. She told me she had woken up unable to move, just like me. As she lay there paralyzed, she saw the sheet in the doorway ripple. A face emerged, a woman's face, pale and expressionless. Her voice was low, commanding, and filled with an unnatural authority. "Get off her. Get off her now." The moment the words were spoken, my wife could move again. She scrambled out of bed and called me, shaking with fear. I listened in stunned silence, my grip tightening on the phone. I wanted to tell her that I had seen the same woman, that I too had been paralyzed, but the words caught in my throat. How could I admit that the woman in white wasn't just in her imagination? How could I tell her she wasn't safe? To this day, I don't know who or what that woman was. A protector? A warning? Or something far darker? What I do know is that this wasn't the last time we experienced the unexplainable in that house.